I've always been passionate about computers.
Today we are joined with Mr. Karan MV, Director International Developer Relationship, GitHub.
If you're able to work on some of these hobby projects, make it open source, everything began with a why. As to why does this work this way? Why does it not work this way? It's there for inspection and also as a portfolio of your work for others.
How does the AI tools which have come up are affecting the coding efficiency or in some ways collaboration?
It's making a whole lot of them very productive. System level thinking, which is very important. The students have been very inquisitive about.
Hi Karan, welcome to LPU.
Hi, Professor Sami. Thank you for having me over here.
So let's first talk about your journey, Karan.
Yeah.
Today, how did you land where you are today from your maybe college days to the first job, and then how did you translate it into this role where you are today?
Well, one of the things for me is I've always been passionate about computers. I've been that one person who has been interested in how does a computer work, what's the hardware behind it, etc., and started learning programming at a very young age. Not because someone taught me, but because I was interested in how are these softwares written, why does it work that way, etc., and started learning to program with C and C++, etc., very much by myself in the early days. And then that naturally led me to, go more deeper and complete my engineering in information sciences and engineering to go more deeper into understanding how does this all work, etc. So even during my college days, I was working on a whole lot of different side projects, hobby projects, took on a few paid projects, did a lot of freelance work as well, because I was interested in understanding how does these systems work in a real world when users are using it and not just it's me and my friends playing around. And that landed me to become a developer and then work on how that needs to be done, understand how does things work actually in the software industry, etc. And then naturally what happened for me next was one of the early organizations I worked with noticed that I have a flair for explaining a whole lot of complex concepts and also explaining to developers about technology in a very relatable manner, and then said that why don't you get into developer relations. I hadn't even heard about that then, and then I thought, oh, it's interesting. What am I supposed to do? And that's how my career with developer relations began, with a passion for technology, with a passion for educating and teaching, and with a passion for communication itself. And then I went on to lead developer relations at many organizations like Exotel, DigitalOcean, Automation Anywhere, and then finally at GitHub, where I've been here for around 5.5 years right now as of this recording, um, looking after and helping a whole lot of developers when it comes to how to really use GitHub and the development platform and participate in the open source community and make the best use of AI, etc.
Great. Uh, First thing which is very important for students, from the journey that you have just described, passion. Uh, Something which this generation, I would say, on a larger scale does not have. They're not actually having that why. They do not have that instinct of why it is important to have that passion, or why it is important to have that why. Or should students focus more on understanding their passions or the why which is there, which can drive their career? Because it's missing for them right now.
You see, if history has taught us anything, and I'm not talking of history in the books, but history of scientists, physicists, computer scientists, engineers, etc., everything began with a why. Uh, as to why does this work this way, why does it not work this way, etc. So a whole lot of innovation, if you look at it, even in history or even in the current world, started with a why or a why not,
Why not?
which is very, very important. And curiosity is the underlying part of everything. Being curious about why is this way, why is that this way, why is not this way. And if you think about it, it actually comes naturally for us. For us, if you think about kids, how many questions kids ask, that curiosity. Somewhere along the way, I feel students forget that spark of curiosity and asking questions, and then start to think that this is how it is. But the curiosity and questions really helps you get a whole lot more deeper, solidify your understanding, and get that basic principles actually very much well, which is important in a career for anything that you do today.
Great. Now, you said that you did side projects, you did hobby projects during your college days. Students nowadays do not experiment that much with these kind of side projects and hobby projects because they sometimes feel these are not valuable. This would not lead to something meaningful in terms either I could not just go out and talk about it and it will help me either maybe in my interview or maybe this project would help me with learning. So they do not pick up smaller projects, the side and hobby projects. How relevant they are till today. It's been years that you have been in university and now you interview students from university. So how those side projects or you can call it hobby projects are still relevant for a student to have with them when they're in their interview with any of the companies, I would say.
Three things, three ways how it's relevant. One is it helps you understand that there is a problem and I'm going to solve it with the help of software and technology. Because fundamentally, as you know, any uh, developer today, if you look at it, we are fundamentally problem solvers using technology, whether we
Yes.
are solving a problem for an application or an engineering or an organization or a customer, we are problem solvers first. So it helps build that mental model that here is a problem, here is how I'm going to solve it with the help of technology. The second aspect is that it helps you really showcase that work. And I give this example very often that you ask so many different kinds of people to show their work. You can ask a photographer, please show me your work. They have a portfolio. You can ask, an editor saying, please show me your work. You have a portfolio. You can ask a dancer, please show me your work. They have videos of their performances. But when you ask a software developer, please show me your work, even if they're working in an organization or so, they most often won't be able to because it's proprietary or living somewhere else. Whereas if you are able to work on some of these hobby projects, make it open source, put it out over there on GitHub, etc., it's there for inspection and also as a portfolio of your work for others. You can say that, look, this is my work, go check out my GitHub profile and you can see all of those things which are there. The third aspect is from a career and also what you mentioned from an interview perspective, etc. Right? It helps a whole lot of say folks like engineering managers and others who are looking at evaluating the skill set of a developer understand their skill set a whole lot more better as well. And so this is really really important even till today. And in fact, I can very confidently say that some of the hobby projects which I've written in legacy technologies back during my college days have been so very useful that one of the organizations is still using it in production today with their customers. So it adds a whole lot of value not just for you but for everyone in the ecosystem.
Great. The last part which you talked about in the journey was you were identified as a good communicator. You had that knack of, putting out those difficult tech jargons in an easy way. How important is communication? Because this is one skill which all tech engineers, most good tech engineers discard as not essential, but how essential it is for someone who's good at tech to be good at communication to grow.
I would say it's increasingly more important for two reasons. One is you think about communication, right? Uh, at least for us humans, the way to do that is through writing or speaking or through facial expressions and things like that, right? Basically, to try and get all of the ideas in my mind into others' minds over there through some medium, right? And the reality is that in today's world, um, we have to work with people to build software or in our careers, etc. to be able to work with people, communication one is important. The second thing, in this era of AI, it's also very important from a communication perspective to be able to express your thoughts to an AI system or an AI model, and kind of get out what you're thinking about out to an AI system. So that is why when a whole lot of AI models started coming up, there was a whole lot of discussion around prompt engineering, which is, if you look at it, also way as to how do you effectively communicate with an AI model. So it's something which is important for a whole lot of folks to think about as to how can I be a better communicator.
Great. Now, there's a lot of, now let's jump into the, I would say, AI part, which is the key part right now happening everywhere. So how does the AI tools which have come up are affecting the coding efficiency or in some ways collaboration?
See, I think uh, many of the AI tools, including GitHub Copilot, right, is helping developers, students in various different ways. One, it's making a whole lot of them very productive, because now you can say that, okay, I'm working on this project from an architecture level. I can now use these tools to help me with some of the smaller tasks so that I can net effect get my project done faster. Second is it really helps, especially for students, largely from a learning perspective. Just imagine that you are given a project, or you have seen a project, or there is an open source project which you are using, and you're curious to know why is this working this way, or what is this better. Now it is easier than ever to just open up, say, Copilot in an ID or on github.com, and then ask, why is this written this way? Or what does this do? Even if you don't understand that programming language or the context of that, and also helps you understand that entire project context as well better. So it's a great learning aid and a learning tool as well, to understand right from basics of what is this if loop or what is this construct, all the way to why does this work this way and how to optimize it in a non-judgmental way, and very openly about how you can work. Great productivity, great learning tool, and also helps you move faster. At the end of the day, what does it help with? Solve problems faster, for all of us.
Great. Now, this question is kind of for the alumni of this university, that some skills or the skills that they require to move from a developer role to a tech leader role, what did they need to inculcate? So they have been there in industry for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, now 10 years, still as a developer. Now, what skills or how do they do some transformation which would help them transform from a developer to a tech leader?
So three things again. One is continuous upskilling. I think that's very, very important in today's world, where there is so much new stuff coming up very frequently. So it's important to stay relevant, because a whole lot of organizations and businesses and teams will start looking at the cutting edge of technology to be able to solve problems faster for their customers, for their individual businesses, organizations, and move ahead. Second is to start using AI in the right way to improve their productivity and their efficiency, because a whole lot of organizations, teams, etc., are looking at, well, AI is a great tool. Now we need to start using it in the best way possible for us to help drive forward. So there's a whole lot of conversation which happens in terms of how can AI be used in individual contexts, which a whole lot of folks need to think about. The third thing is system level thinking, which is very important, uh, to think about not just how my part of the software works or what is my expertise, but to think about the broader system aspects and how does this contribute to the overall application, overall system, overall business, etc., which helps move folks to a broader, larger problem solving capacity.
Great. Then there are some common mistakes, which developers makes when they're trying to grow in their career, maybe, trying to switch to an international location or just want to grow, and then they make certain common mistakes. Can you, highlight what not to do when trying to grow your career?
Oh, that's a bit tricky, because uh, a whole lot of those things which get labeled as mistakes become learning experiences for folks. Um, so it's very very subjective, I would say, in terms of how people think about it. But I think, getting back to the three things which I previously mentioned, as long as they are upskilling, as long as they're thinking about from a broader system perspective and staying relevant and thinking about how best to use AI, etc., I think everything else will be learnings.
Great. Uh, what advice would you like to give to aspiring engineers who are you know moving into the university, or someone who are just going to graduate from university, to be relevant maybe 3 years down the line, maybe 2 years down the line?
First thing, it's never been a better time to be a developer than today. All right. Because uh, with AI, there is so many more problems to be solved, so much more technology to be used, software to be built, and developers needed to help solve for that. So it's a great time being a developer to help solve problems for all. Second thing is also to think about and focus on the fundamentals and getting really good at what you're learning and what you're doing, because some of those fundamental principles will start becoming more and more important as developers, students, engineers now and in the future work more and more closely with AI and AI agents, and to be able to steer them in the right way of what you wish to accomplish. That fundamental starts becoming important.
Great. Now, coming to the open source part, how open source is going to be still relevant for students in this AI era? Because open source was earlier getting different minds to come up and think about a problem and get solutions to it. Now, with AI coming in, will open source be still relevant? And if yes, how students should go about and start their journey in open source?
One, it will continue to be more and more relevant, I would say, because with AI, you are able to solve more problems and build more software. And the more it is out over there as open in the ecosystem, it means larger is your impact and amplifying it across the world as well in a more faster way, which is of course one of the key benefits of open source. The second part is also about uh, what I mentioned earlier, is finding that problem that you think exists anywhere and being able to solve for it and make it into open source project and collaborate with your friends, which could one day become a larger project. I have many examples, and many folks have spoken to across India who began their open source project in a very similar way. It could be something as simple as, this software doesn't work on my less configuration machine, so I want to write a more optimized software, which became a large project. Or here is a healthcare kind of a opportunity to solve for my community, and I'm going to write some software and collaborate with others, which has become large big, right? So it's some of those small problems that when you're trying to solve and make it open source, you start finding like-minded, relatable developers and engineers who come and help, contribute to that and help grow and amplify that impact as well.
So open source is still going to be relevant. Students should still work on it and put their work out so that people can contribute and they can grow it. Great.
Absolutely.
That, that's it, Karan, I would say. But the most important question, how it was your second visit at Love Professional University?
It's been great over here. I think it speaks a lot uh, of coming back for a second time. The students have been very inquisitive about their thought processes. It's also clear that they have been um, also following and upskilling on all the things which is happening in the industry, which is really good. And I would encourage continuing to be more curious and think through all of the things. So, and it's also great to see all of the innovative AI backed projects that are being worked on and supported by the management of the university as well, to uh, grow the AI adoption and really utilize the productivity and efficiency boost, not just for the institute, the faculty, but even for the students, etc. So I really appreciate all of that.
Thank you, Karan, for taking out time, being with us, and giving students the insights that would help them build their career.
Thank you so much, Professor Sami, for having me over here, and great to be here.